If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number. To a good life sleep. If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number. To a good life sleep.
Hello, friends in the Pacific Northwest. If you haven't come or are not planning to come to one of our live book events here in Vancouver, what are you doing with your calendar? We have questions. We kicked things off last night at Banyan Books and Sound, and my heart is so full. Huge shout out to Nathan, who flew in from Fort St. John with the most gorgeous handmade wooden cutting board with a little bit culty engraved into it. Who does that? Thank you, Nathan. We were so honored by that and all the support that we had last night. Thank you, Vancouver, for already making us feel so loved. But you still have 3 chances to come hang out with us. July 21st, casual book signing at Massey Books. July 23rd, another book signing, meet and greet at Indigo Park Royal in North Van. And finally, July 24th at the Canadian Memorial Centre for Peace's Great Hall. Listen, July 24th is a big one. It is our launch. It'll be our last Canadian event for a while, and we're turning it into a live, A Little Bit Culty podcast, complete with an audience Q&A. So if you've ever wanted to be part of the conversation or ask us that question in person that you've been saving, this is your moment. Do not sleep on this one. This is a ticketed event. If you've already picked up a copy of the book, amazing. Just send us a proof of purchase and we'll send you a code for a free ticket because the tickets do include a copy of the book. If you're coming as a couple, you don't have to pay twice. Just DM us and we'll hook you up. Come and laugh, cry, ask questions, get your book signed, meet fellow cult survivors and cult curious, and all around lovely humans, including some of my friends and family who'll be there. It's going to be glorious. Honestly, we can't wait to see you or meet you, whatever the case may be. And if you're not in Vancouver, stay tuned for your local events and be in touch if you want us to come to your city. We'll figure something out. Thanks, everybody, for the support. And don't forget, also, the book is now on Audible, narrated by us. We are so proud of this and can't wait to share it with you. See y'all soon.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or mental health advice. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast and are not intended to malign any religion, group, club, organization, business, individual, anyone, or anything.
I'm Sarah Edmondson.
And I'm Anthony Nippy Ames, and this is A Little Bit Culty.
We woke up from a cult, and that journey was captured in The Vow on HBO and in my memoir, Scarred.
Now, in this podcast, we break down the shame and secrets that make these experiences so destructive with honest conversations on how seemingly benign groups can cross into the cultiverse and how to spot and recover from trouble if it happens to you.
Each week, we bring in experts, survivors, and whistleblowers to explore red flags, resilience, and even share a few laughs because sometimes you gotta laugh.
Subscribe to our Patreon for early and ad-free listening, some live Q&A, and exclusive content at patreon.com/alittleBitCulty.
Welcome to Season 8 of A Little Bit Culty.
Welcome back to A Little Bit Culty, everybody. Today's guest is Dr. Gillie Jenkinson, an accredited psychotherapist, international speaker, an author who spent more than 30 years helping people heal from coercive, cultic, and spiritual abuse. Sarah tries to call her the GOAT. Doesn't really land. You'll see. That'll make sense later. She's also a survivor herself, which gives her work that rare combination of clinical depth and lived experience, plus the very refreshing ability to talk about recovery without making it sound like a mysterious side quest.
She's also hilarious.
A sinner.
We had a lot of fun with Gillie, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Part 1 is hearing about her story. As you know, this is a survivor-focused podcast, her story in and out of a cult. And part 2 is more about her healing journey and her award-winning book, which is Walking Free from the Trauma of Coercive, Cultic, and Spiritual Abuse. This lays out the walking free model, which shows that healing usually happens in 4 phases and is possible with the right psychoeducation, support, and understanding. We will be digging into what actually helps former members recover and how the pseudo-identity created in a high-control group gets untangled, and why Gillie's work has become such a game changer for therapists and survivors alike.
Here's part 1 with the GOAT, Dr. Gillie Jenkinson.
Well, first of all, let me just say welcome, Gillie Jenkinson. I feel like this is so way overdue because you're kind of like the GOAT in this space. Do you know what the GOAT means? Is this a term that has made it over to London?
Very insulting, the GOAT.
It does. It does. When they first started coming out with that about 10 years ago, I was like, why would you call him the GOAT?
This is where you could also... Well, the GOAT means greatest of all time.
It's an acronym.
Oh, go
for
on.
greatest of all time.
Well... yeah. Okay. Thank you.
it's a term used by the young people these days to describe.
Okay, that's why I don't know it.
I feel the same way, but it basically describes someone who's like the original. You've been around from the beginning, and
it's more the greatest of all time
and the original OG. Have you heard the term OG?
Go on.
It's like original gangster or something. This is so funny.
Gangster granny.
You're the GJ. Well, it's been long overdue, and I apologize it's taken so long to figure out that we need to have you on the podcast. You know, you're one of the original people in this space, and you're a name that I've heard before by other people we've interviewed, but we've just never connected. So now we're finally connecting, and it's so lovely to meet you.
Thank you. And I have your book. I had Scarred. Someone very kindly gave it to me at a ICSA conference, and so I have that. And then my Little Bit Culty arrived today. Woohoo!
Oh, all right.
Amazing.
So,
I'm sorry I didn't get to you sooner. I blame Amazon for that, but at least you have it. But now that we've met, and when we have your book, Walking Free, which is beautiful and very
textbook,
satisfying to hold. I wish I'd known about this sooner because we would have put it as a resource in A Little Bit Culty under the healing section. But in the second edition, we will. And I'm actually have a list of all the things to add to the second edition, which we missed. And we missed so many things.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I know you flip through the PDF. We have a section on healing and some of the things that helped us. But this is like
it's a step by step.
The expanded accordion aspect of the healing on steroids.
Yeah. Yes.
On drugs?
Not on drugs.
On drugs,
we'll get into the book. Yeah. And we did say earlier that you're allowed to swear, and you said that you're more apt to say feck off.
Fuck off.
Yeah. It's the same in English.
Anybody who knows me well is okay. Here we go.
Well, I guess it's meant to be that we would do this podcast together because anyone who knows me well knows that I have a potty mouth. In fact, my friends call me a trucker princess because I'm a princess, but I also cuss a lot. So
there you go. Exactly.
So we are going to have so much fun today. You've been doing podcasts, been doing interviews, you've been telling your story for so long, and it might be a little bit boring for you, but we're going to try to find the gems that you haven't shared before and just have a good time. We're very casual here on A Little Bit Culty.
That sounds good.
Yeah, let's roll.
Gillie, the GOAT, the OG, GJ. You were in a cult many years ago, in a religious cult. Just give us a little bit, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
What was going on for you? Where were you in your life that you heard about this cult? How did you get hooked?
So it happened a long time ago in the 70s. It was a Bible-based group. And when I was around 18, I became a born-again Christian. And I wasn't really searching. And I think in some ways was kind of pressured into becoming a Christian, actually. This lovely woman, she decided that I was ready and should become a Christian. And I really wanted to just smoke and drink and do what I was doing because I was about 17. Boys, blah, blah, blah. And
free love? Was this free love? Were you a hippie a little bit?
I wasn't. No, not really. I went to British boarding school. I grew up in Africa. So I was probably a bit square. I wasn't really a cool hippie. But I had my, I wanted to do normal things that teenagers do. And she kind of just kept a hold of me, and she'd sort of sulk if I wouldn't go to the meetings and that sort of thing. And I mean, I've written about it in my book as well, my story a bit, and I've spoken about it, but I kind of capitulated and gave in. And I think you know how it is, because I've been looking at, at the vow and some of your kind of processes, how convincing it is at the doorway as you're going in. There's so much that convinces you. There was so much that emotionally moved me, and being emotionally moved made me feel that it was real and that was true. And so I kind of made a commitment. There's obviously a whole lot of stuff around that, but I stepped into another world. I grew up as quite a posh English girl. I went to boarding school. I travelled from Uganda back to England for school. And I have said this elsewhere, that my main aim in life was to marry a lord. And that's partly because I was sort of in touch with people like that. Like I knew people like that, and my family sort of identified somewhere. Yes, you're going, woo.
I'm sorry. I just have to tell you something really quickly. Yeah. Editors, please don't edit this out because it might seem random, but I just think it's very funny. My dad is British.
Yeah.
His dad is a lord. So when his dad died, he's a lord, which makes me honorable, right?
Yeah.
And he went to Eton.
Oh, there you go.
And he also went to Uganda.
Oh, no. What's his name?
His name's Lord Sanford, or Jim Edmondson, my dad. He's actually been on the podcast as a guest because he dabbled in NXIVM. I just feel like you two need to meet. I'm not saying you need to get married, but I just feel like you two need to have a conversation. Yeah, so he's taken as well. But I just feel like you should meet because you've had a very similar life experience.
Yeah, I'm not honourable, but yeah, I had a lot of contact with
fancy people.
But yeah, a family friend was a Hungarian countess, but married she married a British major. So she lost her title and she was happy with that. But because of those contacts, but I was thinking about it, and I think because seriously, leaving boarding school in that era, I didn't really have an ambition for myself, and I didn't have an aim. So I went to the Queen's Secretarial College in Knightsbridge or Kensington, and then I became a secretary because that was kind of the aspiration that I had at that time. And I didn't know about myself that actually I'm very determined. I'm actually more intelligent than I ever thought I was because I thought I was stupid. And so I think that there was like a gap for me that somehow going into the church gave me not so much ambition, but a mission, I suppose, or a something.
Structure. Yeah,
a structure, but also a passion, because I didn't have a passion. I didn't know where I was going, and it did create that structure and that passion for me. And I kind of realized that quite recently, weirdly, that actually that probably was a vulnerability for me, that somebody could step in and give me a passion that I hadn't, in school and things. You would hope that they would give you enough of an education and enough of a inspiration to make you think you could do more than, there's nothing wrong with being a secretary. I mean, they're great skills that I can use now, but there was a lot more that I could have done, and I've ended up doing stuff now in
Yeah,
this.
schools could do a better job of helping students elicit more about what they want.
Yeah.
Rather than teaching them what to think. I agree.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And also teaching me to be a good girl. You know, you've got to be obedient in these settings. So that's kind of setting me up for being a good girl in the church and then sort of becoming, you know, just sort of giving in to this myth of the authority figure and that the leaders know better than everybody else, rather than helping people to think for themselves and really grapple with truths or things. Yeah.
And so interesting also that you've been doing this work, which we're going to get into later, for so many years, and you just recently have gotten that extra nugget of that situational vulnerability. Totally relate to that. I feel like every time we interview somebody, I have another awareness, and it's like it's a constant unfolding, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Especially, like, we need to raise awareness of ourselves. It's interesting. You know, we live in ourselves, don't we? And so you need to be able to do that. I do find it really helpful making those connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, either you have a schooling system that facilitates it, or you're going to run into something in life that's going to be at a cataclysmic event that's going to reveal it to you. So, you know, an interface with reality, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you have this boarding school experience and you have the situational vulnerabilities that set you up for success to be recruited. What did you think you were signing up for? Like, what was you thought you were joining a community, a church? Like, how would you have described it at the time? Like, what was the sales pitch?
Well, it was that I was a sinner, that I was going to hell, and that I needed to be saved. And so I got saved. And that then created a sense in me of safety, I suppose, of I'm now not going to hell. But it wasn't like that was the end of the story. It was then I had to maintain that status in case if I stepped out of line, then maybe I'd be going to hell again. So it wasn't a sort of, you've made this decision and then you're now safe, although I thought I was. And so the way that people use Christian theology then became the controlling tool, the belief system, the gun to my head. If you don't obey, then you're sinning and then you'll be in trouble. But I mean, I didn't really understand what I was fully stepping into. I hadn't got a clue. I didn't know about church culture. I grew up we went to the local church in Uganda occasionally. We weren't churchgoers. We would have said we were Christians, but not by this definition. And then, so I got involved with the church. And I started going to church regularly, and we had quite a lot of fun around it. We'd go around. I got baptized in Leicester Square in the fountain. we were all in a sort of, it probably looked like a hippie-like prayer meeting. And then we got in a taxi, went to Leicester Square, got rid of the police officer, said, oh, well, I'm going to walk down the road here. Because we said, can we go in the water? He said, absolutely not. But I'm walking off down the road, so I won't be able to see what you do, more or less. So
he was supportive of the baptism.
Well, he turned a blind eye. It was fun. It was fun. We played music on the streets. We played guitars, singing nice songs, that sort of thing. So we had fun. But I was very radicalized. I was fully in that world, which was quite concerning to my family. And at that time, I went to different churches. I worked for a Christian travel agent. And then I actually lost the job at the Christian travel agent and I became an au pair. And I moved from London to the Midlands. And it kind of was, having looked back on my story, it was the beginning of me beginning to move away from my family, who were all based down south of England. And then sort of kind of in terms of me being a Christian and how they lived their lives, this great chasm was opening up because they were quite concerned with how passionate I was about this and how I told my grandmother, who was actually Lady Burleigh. My grandfather was knighted, so it wasn't quite the same. I'd forgotten about that. I told her she was going to hell, and it didn't go down very well.
No.
I mean, it's quite funny when I look back.
Before we hear from our sponsors, just a quick reminder. Our book, A Little Bit Culty, Navigating Cults, Control, and Coercion, is officially out and available on Amazon.
Signed pre-orders have closed, but you can still get your copy today. This book is the culmination of 5 years of conversations, interviews, and research. Everything we've learned about how people get pulled into high-control groups and how to avoid, escape, or heal from them.
If you've been listening to the podcast and want a deeper go-to resource, this is it.
Available now on Amazon in print and as an ebook for Kindle. And yes, the audiobook is coming soon, narrated by us.
Just search A Little Bit Culty and grab your copy. Do it.
Thanks, everybody. Your space should feel like you. And if it currently looks like a college dorm room mixed with stuff I inherited from people I don't even know and maybe Facebook Marketplace, well, that's a budget problem, not a taste problem. Enter Wayfair, which understands that good design doesn't require selling a kidney. We've used Wayfair every time we need a refresh. I'm always amazed how easy it is to order, and the deliveries are fast and seamless, and the quality is superb. Friends, if you're wanting to replace an item in your home, Wayfair should be your first stop. Yes, we order from Wayfair all the time, and honestly, you should too. Wayfair Verified is basically their team of product nerds hand-testing everything with a 10-point inspection. So you're not buying some chair that looks great in photos but feels like sitting on a bag of regrets. Everything's in one place. Seating, grills, lighting, storage, rugs. No more bouncing between 17 stores trying to find pieces that actually vibe together instead of looking like a ransom note. And assembly, they handle delivery, installation, putting it all together. You just pick stuff and they deal with the soul-crushing instruction manuals written by people who hate joy. Plus, 20 million 5-star reviews means you're seeing real people in real homes, not some magazine fantasy. Real feedback from real humans who aren't professional stylists. Ready to upgrade your home for way less? Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home and get your space ready for less. That's WAYFAIR.com. Happy shopping.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
There are things in life you absolutely do not want to be transparent about. Your swimsuit, your search history, that time you cried watching a commercial, but your wireless bill? Transparency is everything, which is why Mint Mobile is basically a breath of fresh air in an industry built on confusion and gotchas. No hidden fees, no introductory rates that explode after 3 minutes, no mysterious charges that make you question your life choices. Just straightforward, $15 a month, all plans, even unlimited, high-speed data, unlimited talk and text on T-Mobile's 5G network. That's it. That's the whole thing. You bring your current phone, keep your number, pick a 3, 6, or 12-month plan, and suddenly you're not hemorrhaging money on wireless anymore. Sign up online and boom, you're done. I know it sounds too good to be true because we've all been trained by carriers to expect the rug pull. But nope, just actually $15. Honestly, my only regret is spending years overpaying when this existed the whole time. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/culty. That's mintmobile.com/culty. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/culty. That's it. There's no catch. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required, $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes. May slow when network is busy. Includes up to 20 gigabytes hotspot. Capable devices required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com.
Summer wardrobes are so weird because you end up wearing like 5 pieces on repeat while everything else just sits there, quietly judging you. So why not make those 5 pieces actually great? That's the whole thing about Quince. They nail elevated essentials, the kind of stuff that feels intentional without requiring a PhD in styling or a second mortgage. Their linen pants, for example, start at $32 and become your summer uniform. Soft denim, organic cotton sweaters for layering when evenings cool down. Simple pieces that work together because they were designed that way, not because you got lucky. And I love their 14-karat gold jewelry, the kind of thing that makes even the most effortless outfit feel like you actually tried, which you didn't, but nobody needs to know that. Everything's 50 to 80% less than other brands because they skip the middleman and work directly with ethical factories. So you're paying for quality, not some brand's fancy marketing budget. I've been loving all of their basics for my summer travel. I have this cute crossbody black leather purse that matches my little black backpack, which sometimes my kids wear and then I wear, and we all look cute in it. I also have an awesome, super soft matching sweatshirt and joggers that I've worn for every single leg of my flight, including the 6 hours from Halifax to Vancouver, because they're kind of like pajamas, but they're also elevated, so I still look like I'm not traveling in my PJs. And they've also got incredible home stuff, bedding, kitchen essentials, furniture. Basically, Quince gets that you want your whole life to feel intentional without actually having to work that hard at it. Make your summer wardrobe feel easier. Go to quince.com/culty for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/culty for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/culty. Thank you for listening. Now, let's dive back into the cultiverse.
But, it's not the sort of thing you do, dear. So I'm getting really involved in this. And then I became an au pair, and that was then the doorway that took me into what became the cult. So all of this time, if I'm being clear at all, that this sort of steps, kind of going to different churches and then eventually moving to the Midlands and then moving from one city to another city in order to get some counselling. And I went to this fellowship, and in the fellowship, they gave me some counselling. And then, honestly, that really was the beginning of the cult, because from the very first moment that I joined, they kind of started to change my sense of myself and my identity. And I lived in one of the households for a short time, and I wasn't being paid. And I wasn't in a job. So they were putting me up for a while. And then within probably weeks of that time, they decided to set up in community. So they had a number of community houses. Eventually, there were probably 6 or 7. But there was the first house was number 6. And I ended up going to number 6. And we lived in common. It's a sort of Christian principle. You share everything. We're the radical Christians. We're the ones who do it properly. And that was the beginning of the cult. So what started as a fellowship then became the Love of God community. And we ended up with a number of community houses.
So it sounds like it's organic at this point and not very... Were you processed systematically? Like, did they know what they were doing, or was it something that kind of was organically going on?
Yeah, it's a good point. No, I don't think they knew what they were doing. I think I think it sort of evolved. It evolved from this fellowship, then into the community. And it was founded by a guy who was an opera singer, who was at the Birmingham School of Music, who kind of, I guess he had some charisma, I don't know, but something was happening for them. Before I joined, there was already something happening, a bit of a movement and a revival, something like that. And so people were gathering around him, and then I kind of came into that slipstream, really. And then we set up, in community, and that lasted for 7 years.
Before we get into sort of the red flags and things that weren't working, what was keeping you in? Like, what was good about it? Like, there was community. I'm guessing you felt purposeful. What were some of the things that you liked?
Yeah, having others, friends around my age. So early 20s, very naive. We were all very naive. the worship was fun because the guy was a singer. He sang beautifully. He created songs. There was quite a high level of creativity. There was a dance group, which we did these dances. We created these big robes. We sewed on sequins. There was that level of, on a very small level, creativity.
Like spectacle.
But, yeah,
A little bit. Mini spectacle.
Look, you've been involved with Hollywood.
Yeah.
But look, this is nothing on that level. But it was a little bit colourful compared to, some of the churches. It's a good question. What did I like about it? I sort of feel like I was very disconnected from myself, really. The person I am now is definitely not the person that I was back then. And I kind of went along with things, I think. But it wasn't horrible in the very early days. And I worked as a temporary secretary. So I did do some work probably in the first year or so, because I'd done the secretarial course. So I could do that kind of work. And all my money went into the community. But a new leader came in after about being there. Gosh, it's hard. I can't remember exactly the number of years. But then things really started to go downhill. And that's when the coercive control and the sort of thought reforming started to happen. And he really took over from the founder, broke the founder, who also was problematic, but he really was broken by this guy. And then the real abuse started to happen. It was awful. I'm happy to talk about it, but
whatever you feel comfortable.
Book, Sarah, well, reading your book, I'm thinking, my goodness, I read the first chapter of Scarred and I thought, God, it's just absolutely terrible and shocking. And kind of what you're describing, which I have to say to you is a really courageous and incredibly difficult thing to do, to revisit these things, isn't it? And I just sort of really, just really struck by articulating what happened. I was struck by your courage. That's, I suppose, what I wanted to say.
Thank you for saying
that.
Within
our group, yeah, you're welcome. And I kind of could relate to it because I was involved for about 7 years. And as you said, it just slowly evolved. My involvement with the church just slowly evolved. I wasn't fully in touch with myself. I wasn't approaching it as I would now. And I was naive. I didn't know people would want to abuse you or hurt you. I was taught a perverted version of Christian theology, that God wanted to break you. So you can abuse somebody till the cows come home if God wants to break you, because you're never going to call it abuse. You're always going to think there's a reason and a rationale for this happening. And this second leader, after a while, brought in physical beatings with a bamboo cane. And these beatings were for sin. And it was, you'll know what I mean. It was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And, it was like living in some kind of gothic horror. I'm sure you know what I mean from just reading your book. That it's like, oh, and I was really lost to myself then. I mean, completely. And it never occurred to me that I could leave. Never, ever. Not in all those years did it occur to me that I could walk out that door, because I could. I wasn't in a physical prison. I was in a psychological prison.
Mm-hmm.
And that I could have gone to the police. I could have gone the next day, said, this is what happened. But actually, and you said this, in A Little Bit Culty, actually the result was trauma bond. that you're more attached to them, not less attached to them after this trauma or after this abuse, because then they were kind to me, because I was beaten because of sin. And then, which I didn't sin, I didn't do anything. I never did a thing. Hardly dared breathe at that time. I was terrified.
Gillie, I can see you sinning, Gillie.
Can you? Well, yeah, these days, but those days,
you were a good girl.
Yeah.
I was such a good girl. I mean, I was a terrified girl. I was way beyond good girl by that time. And as you say, I'd already been, I was sort of brought up to be a good girl. I'll take that as a compliment, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
Of course it is.
Thank you. So that's the heavy bit. So leaving, like you, is PTSD, and it's like, what do I do now? What the fuck am I going to do now?
Let's take a little break from the cultiverse. Here's a word from our sponsors. This message is for my friends with glasses, bifocals, readers. Don't you feel like it's just an ongoing problem that you need to get new glasses because they get scratched or you lose them? I actually lost my glasses in the woods the other day. That was fun. So yeah, it's good to have backups. It's good to get new ones. And it's like just another thing on the to-do list. Getting new glasses used to also mean scheduling an appointment, sitting in a waiting room, and paying a fortune. So we just squinted through scratches for years like pioneers. Yeah, that's me. I'm a pioneer. Then Zenni happened. You can pick frames online. You can upload your prescription. They ship it to your door under $30. No appointment, no store, no getting upsold at the counter. And here's the magic. At that price, you stop asking, do I really need new glasses? And start asking, why wouldn't I? Get the work ones, get the fun ones, get the pair that only matches one particular outfit. Yes, they're that affordable. And they've got over 150,000 five-star reviews and virtual try-ons, so you can see how the frames look on your face first. Honestly, I'm just mad I spent years overpaying when this existed. I just love having the options. I like variety. That's why Zenni is my NBF. If your glasses are overdue for a refresh, now is the time. Go to zenni.com/podcast and use code podcast15 for 15% off your first order. The styles sell out, so don't sit on it. That's zenni.com/podcast. Promo code podcast15. Happy shopping. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We are shockingly good at talking about mental health these days. Podcasts, group chats, and that one friend who's basically become a therapy evangelist. Everybody's got one. BetterHelp's 2026 State of Stigma report surveyed 2,000 Americans that revealed that 85% of Americans believe getting support is wise, yet 74% say society discourages people from doing so. We nod along. We agree wholeheartedly. We say things like therapy's so important, while sipping coffee like we're very enlightened. Then someone suggests we go to therapy and suddenly we're too busy, or it's probably fine, or it'll work itself out. Or my personal favorite, I'll deal with it eventually. Eventually being a mythical time period that never arrives until you find yourself in a cult or a high control group or some other coercive situation. Been there, done that. BetterHelp's research confirms it. We believe in mental health support more than we actually seek it. We'll gladly diagnose our friends' entire lives, but somehow that same energy never turns inwards. Very on brand for us as a society. Here's the thing, though. BetterHelp makes the eventually part to disappear. Fully licensed therapists in the U.S., strict code of conduct, and they do all the matching legwork with a quick questionnaire. 12 plus years of experience means they basically nail it on the first try. Didn't click? You can switch anytime. No awkward breakup conversation required. So maybe it's time to take our own advice instead of just doling it out for free like some unlicensed guru. Don't let stigma stand in the way of support. Start therapy with BetterHelp. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/culty. That's betterhelp.com/culty. Thank you, sponsors. We couldn't do it without you. Now let's get back to the show. With the structure of our podcast, we try to just draw out a couple of, obviously the beatings are a huge, first of all, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And also red flag of like, this isn't good, but you don't see it as bad yet because you're still indoctrinated. Was there any other little moments that you had that it could even be something small and then maybe you put on the shelf before you left? Any other moments that you couldn't see yet as, for what they were?
I don't think there were, or at least I haven't remembered them. And I'm telling you, I've thought long and hard. I've had 25 years of therapy and exit counselling and worked on myself endlessly. I went to Belize near the end of the cult because it did disband. It didn't continue. It imploded, really. And I suppose I started to see, but that was really at the very 6 years in, it was near the end, that my father was a veterinary officer and he went to Belize and he was interested in cattle ranching. And I went and joined him for about a month. And the chain started to fall away because I wasn't in the influence, under the influence of it. And I wrote, but I didn't think of leaving. I still didn't think of leaving. And I wrote to the leader because there were no emails back then. And we're talking about the late 70s. And I wrote and said, I'd like to live in a different household than the one I lived in. And he wrote back, and I wish I still had this letter, saying how I'd betrayed them and betrayed the household and I needed to get back now. And, I think he was probably alarmed by me beginning to think for myself and actually, in such a small way, exerting something that I wanted to do. And so he had to really slam down on me. And I wish I'd show my father, but I didn't. And it was and I think I do remember this feeling of it, me sort of caving in again, of something beginning to blossom and break through, and then something being kind of crushed again. And I went back. But it disbanded probably within about 9 months anyway. So something was happening.
So you didn't leave, it disbanded, and that was how you got out?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess beating people for sins will do that.
I mean,
yeah.
It can.
Yeah.
Your group also reminds me a little bit of the group in Holy Hell with the performances. Do you remember? Did you ever see that movie?
I don't remember it. No.
It came out before The Vow. It was called Holy Hell, and it was about a cult in California and Austin. And there's a lot of performances and sequins, and that's why. But it wasn't Christian. Just more about the robes and all that stuff. Anyway, okay. So you met your husband there.
Yes, he arrived. He came about 2 years before the end. And we became good friends, but there was no sinning going on, Nippy, I can assure you. We were still very good children.
I believe you.
But so I worked by this time for a solicitor's firm in the centre of Birmingham. And my husband, Tony, also worked at the tax office in the centre of Birmingham. And so we'd have car shares to go into town, and it would often be him and me sharing the car, probably with others as well. But we'd often meet for lunch and chat, and we got to know each other. We became friends. And I thought he was like really sweet and kind within that setting. There was no tension there. I remember walking back, and we met somewhere in the middle of town, and the concierge of his office building saying, when are you getting married? To the two of us. I guess, I don't know if we linked arms. I was like, because if this magical thinking, if you think it, they're going to hear it. The cult will hear these thoughts, and then they're going to cause trouble. You'll be in trouble for being too close, or they don't want people to be close because they want to control you. And if two people are close, they might start talking about, actually, we don't like this.
Right. You had to keep that hidden.
Yeah.
But that, lucky for you, it imploded.
Yeah.
And you
so
got out
lucky.
together. And then how soon after did you get married and figure out that you needed exit counseling?
So that came a lot later. We left and got married within about 3 months because by now we were late 20s and we didn't have anywhere to live. We could have gone home, but, you know, we didn't want to go home back to our parents. That wasn't, these days you're more likely to do that, but in those days that you didn't do that really. So we had to find somewhere to live. Tony lived with my boss, I think, who was a solicitor. I think he went to his house, and I lived with another couple who'd left the cult previously, and they put me up for a while. And then we had Tony's family had saved some money for him or something, but somehow we managed to get a house together and we got married in the March following. I think the cult imploded around November, December. And we got married around March. And
good for you.
Yeah, thank you. And it was such a relief to get out of a household of all these random people or people that you had such a complex history with, really.
Correct. Yeah.
And then, yeah. But we kept going to church still, you see, for another 14 years. So, you know, you hear all the time people saying, it's one thing getting out of the cult, another getting the cult out of you. And the cult just stayed there like landmines, basically, triggering me off, triggering Tony off too, I guess, for about 14 years until we hit a crisis in yet another church that we joined. And finally, I started to come to myself. Finally, what I would call my authentic self or authentic identity, and actually just thinking, I don't have to put up with this anymore. I'm not putting up with this abuse anymore. And I started to wake up, as they say. We left. And that's when I started training as a counsellor. That was in 1995.
So up until 1995, you didn't even have you weren't calling that group a cult or anything like that yet. Like this, that was sort of buried?
We used the term, and we joined a church who said we understand how to help people who've been in cults. But look, it was back in the 70s. Nowadays, there's so much stuff available. There was nothing. And they didn't know, they knew fuck all about cults. Absolutely fuck all. And their answer to being in a cult was join our church and come and do evangelization, which was just like, you know, it's just like that was the last thing we needed. So it just stayed frozen inside, causing fear, triggers, you know, the whole package was just going on all the time. And unfortunately,
you hadn't processed it yet.
We really just hadn't processed anything and just carried on, you know, sending out Christmas newsletters, telling sort of praise the Lord newsletters. Now looking back, thinking, oh my gosh, what with the family thinking, oh God, not another of these newsletters, you know, like just such a completely different person to the person I am now.
It's a little embarrassing, isn't it?
There you go.
Hindsight has that.
Yeah.
Well, if you have clarity on what you were doing, looking back with embarrassment is a sign of the fact that you've evolved it. If you're not looking back with embarrassment, probably means you didn't evolve it yet. So,
I mean, thanks. Yeah, that's probably true.
Because I have my cringe moments every now and then. I go, oh my God, I said this. Yeah. Oh my God, what a jerk. Yeah.
Well, Gillie, we're similar in that we both have this silver lining of A, that we got out, but B, that we met our husbands.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
You also, and look, we managed to stay together.
Yeah, imagine.
That's when the sinning really began.
Well, thanks.
He's really into sinning, isn't he?
He's really, this is his big thing right now. No, but
sinner.
But also that we stayed together, you're right, because many don't.
It's lovely. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back for part 2 and hear about your book and all the work that you do now, and we'll get into the healing and brilliance in the aftermath.
Is that interesting, what I've said? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, it'll set up the second part.
We try to stick true to our format where we can, is that this is a survivor-focused podcast, and hearing people's stories and trust me, I get it. I've been saying now, I've done like a couple hundred interviews at this point, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about the branding. I don't want to talk about how I got in and out of Nexium. I want to talk about what I'm doing now.
Something else.
But, yeah. So I get it. It can be boring and sometimes also triggering to rehash. I do say to some people, even though I'm 9 years out, to really explain all the steps of how I got branded is really traumatic. So I just don't even want to, and that's been a boundary for me. So
I mean, it's not traumatic,
I appreciate you.
And I hope it wasn't boring. Maybe it's not.
No, it wasn't boring. I love hearing people's cult journey in and out, and it also gives you the street cred to explain what you're doing now and why you decided to.
Which is robust.
It's robust.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sinking down to the depths of the ocean.
We hope you're enjoying A Little Bit Culty. If so, please do show us some love. Drop a rating or leave a review. Hit subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/alittlebitculty.
Even better, send this episode to someone who needs it. Maybe they're in a cult. Maybe they're just a little bit susceptible. Or maybe they just love a good story. Spread the word, spread the love. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.
A Little Bit Culty is a Trace 120 production.
Executive produced by Sarah Edmondson and Anthony Nippy Ames in collaboration with producer Will Rutherford at Citizens of Sound. Our co-creator is Jess Temple Tardy.
Our production coordinator is Leslie Dinsmore.
Writing by Sandra Namoto and social media marketing by Eric Swarzinski and Brooke Keene.
Our theme song Cultivated is by the artists John Bryant and Nigel Aslan.